Hi, I'm Reba Hervis, Artistic Director at Overshadowed Theatrical Productions. Welcome to this week's episode from the Wings with my beautiful co-host, Rebecca Leland.
Hello, Reba. What are we chatting about today?
Well, I thought the first thing we might talk about today would be cast meetings.
I love it. So, define a cast meeting, because I feel like I know what they are, near and dear to my heart, but I feel like an audience of a theater might never know that there's something called a cast meeting that goes on behind the scenes.
I am the only person that I know that takes it quite as seriously, and it has been a learning curve for me to get people to understand how important cast meetings are to me. And part of that is because, for me, it is the only time I have the attention of everybody.
Ooh.
You know, most of the time when you have a rehearsal, unless it's for something like Forever Plaid that's coming up where it's everybody all the time.
Yeah.
Most of the time you're working with this, these are the people who are in this number, the people who are in this scene, and you don't understand that very rarely is everybody in the cast together. True. And so it's a time that we can get unified because the crew is there as well. Yeah. I even have the people from the sound booth come down and backstage and want them to all be there and be involved, which is actually an idea that I got from Sight and Sound. The idea that they had a separate room was very big for me. So years and years ago when we first started, cast meetings used to be very, very important to us because it was something that we all felt really great about and we were all kind of doing it together. And most of the people who were in the cast were the people who had their hearts and souls devoted for it. Then when we would have cast meetings, they were filled with praises for what God was doing and burdens that we had. And all of our cast meetings were very centralized most of the time on what God was doing.
Because people are interacting, like their heart was in it.
Well, as we started to grow, which is definitely what we wanted to do, right? Then it brings a different group of people in. And a lot of times very talented people, but maybe not people who feel the same devotion to God. And so our cast meetings became a time that nobody wanted to talk, or they were uncomfortable, and so they were talking over here, or they didn't have something about God to share. And every once in a while a cast would come along and I'd be like, oh yes, this is the way it used to be. This is it. We have something to talk about. This is awesome. And then even sometimes our Christian plays, it would be really, really hard to get people to talk about God. So I've always wanted the older to mentor the younger, and by that I don't mean older in age. No. I mean older in experience, and the ones who are equipped to because of their experience or whatever, to be able to do that. So this particular cast has been so fantastic. And yes, Fiddler on the Roof cast, I'm talking about you.
Big love.
They have been amazing. So it doesn't really matter what parts they have. They are in the room, and if I ask them a question, they will participate. They are very encouraging to each other to think outside of the box and to apply the story in their own way. This play, though, lends itself really well. So if we take the one that you were in, Willy Wonka, it's really hard for when you're doing a fantasy to think about deep, life-changing questions to the cast.
Yeah, we're talking about candy.
Hey, yes, what kind of candy is your favorite? But this one, because it's about the Jewish population and how they were kicked out of so many countries and what it must have been like to break tradition, and was that right or was that wrong, and what did they have to give up, and what did they give up to be able to leave and to come to America? So many deep, heartfelt things, and we have so many people in our cast who have a history throughout their ancestry of leaving different countries. So the story is important to them, right? And so it's easier. And then it is religious in nature because Tevia's best friend is God, and so he talks through that. And so that's also interesting, right?
Obviously, it's so many reasons why this cast meeting time has been so amazing. It's your leads and your ensemble have put in the dedication toward it. Your MTI literally gave you really great questions. The show
Music
itself,
Theater International, just in case.
Music Theater International. Really great questions. The show itself, super deep. So is there any hope for future shows, or is this a one-show wonder, or have you taken anything out of this to say, hey, maybe I can bring this into the next show for Forever Plaid, which is a lot less theologically deep? Or is it kind of like, well, this was fun?
I mean, they do come back from heaven, so give your director what they need in your cast meetings.
You can always ask. You can always ask the director.
I think it helps everybody else to be able to feel like that's a safe spot. And we've had some people who didn't necessarily agree with everything that we've said, and they say it from the very beginning. They're like, well, I blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I have never shut them down, and I never would.
Yep.
It's like, this should be safe.
Yep.
I don't know what your experience has been in your cast meetings, but I hope that they have been a time that is very unifying for you, because there can be a lot of really treasured special moments if you kind of go after it that way.
Yeah.
So
until next time, it's just me
and me
talking to you
from the wings. And so I said, which we'll talk about later.
Get ready for an upcoming
Get ready
episode.
for a different one about
Filler
that.
words.
We're gonna cut that out of there though.